Transfiguration movement number 12. The effectual fervent prayer of the righteous by Mikael Korbanyahu. May my prayer be set before you like incense. May the lifting up of my hands be like the evening sacrifice. Psalm 141 verse 2. But Yahushua was often secreting himself to lonely places and praying. Luke 5 verse 16. I can still hear my grandmother's voice, soft yet stern and soaked in reverence. She prayed like her life depended on it, because in all actuality, it did. Morning, noon, and night, she was always either in her word or calling on the Most High. It didn't matter what was going on, death in the family, random challenges, be they personal or otherwise, conflict in the house, she would go to her room, fall to her knees, and whisper to heaven. I remember when I was struggling to find my way in college. That's when she sat me down, looked me square in the eyes, and told me with the most fervent love that I've ever felt from her, baby, always pray. No matter what you got going on, talk to God, you hear me? After a life-giving hug and nod of her head as if saying, I've done my job, she then went on to tell me, now get back to school and handle your business. It was now on me to do what I needed to do. That was the seed that she planted in me 31 years ago, and since then it's never stopped bearing fruit. Even when I didn't know how to pray right, I just knew that I had to pray. When I was laid out with sports injuries playing college-level football, my jaw wired shut freshman year, my spine and arm burning with stingers sophomore year, my shoulder gone junior year, my knee shredded senior year, I prayed. When I didn't understand the why, when the pain made no sense, fell silent before Elohim. When I found myself in the valleys of my own making, many times I was intoxicated, unfaithful, lust-filled, reckless with love and covenant, still I prayed. Why? Because that's what my mama taught me to do. And because of that, I know that I'm still here today because of prayer. And what I've learned over the years praying is that prayer isn't about performance. It's about pleading with your soul to the merciful one. It's about humbling yourself and presenting yourself before the Shekinah presence. It's about being persistent, transparent, and sincere. Consider Hannah's tearful cry that led to the birth of the prophet Samuel. Elijah's prayer that shut the heavens for 3.5 years. Daniel, who prayed despite the threat of death, and heaven sent an angel to wrestle with principalities for his answer. Yahushua retreated often to pray, before he chose the 12, before he fed the thousands, before he faced the execution state. Prayer was their lifeline. It too is ours. You see, prayer moves heaven because prayer moves us. But what is prayer? In Hebrew, the word for prayer is tefillah. And like we've seen over the previous 11 articles, every Hebrew word is layered and pregnant with meaning and mystery. So considering that, we find the following meaning of each letter. Tav, truth and transformation, the mark of covenant. Peh, the mouth, speaking and declaring. Yod, the hand of Yah, supernal spark, creative power. Lamed, learning, leading, the shepherd's staff. K, heavenly revelation, breath and all. Putting it together, tefillah is more than just words. It's the act of aligning our mouth with truth, uplifting our hands and using them to shape destiny, learning how to be led by the Spirit and making room for revelation. Tefillah isn't just asking, it's becoming. At this point here, let's also take into account the types of tefillot that there are. The Torah and the Tanakh show us 5 major types. Supplication, bakashah, humble asking, give us this day our daily bread. Intercession, tefillah, standing in the gap for others. Abraham interceding for Sodom, Moshe for Israel. Thanksgiving, todah, gratitude even before the breakthrough. King David danced and sang with thanksgiving. Praise, shebach, exalting the greatness of the Most High for who he is. The Psalms are saturated with praise that magnifies his name, power, and mercy. Confession, vidui, acknowledging one's transgressions before the Most High. Daniel, Ezra, and Nehemiah all made heartfelt confessions on behalf of themselves and the people of Israel. These forms of tefillah are not rigid, rather they are rhythmic. Sometimes your tefillah begins in need, but ends in praise. Other times your tefillah begins with tears and ends in thanksgiving. And being entirely honest, sometimes we're greatly challenged to offer up tefillot to our Father and King. We all go through seasons when our tefillah feels dry, when we feel distant, distracted, and discouraged. We battle tiredness, unworthiness, guilt, noise, hurry. And then there's the Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination, which wants to cut our connection because it knows the power of the line. But when we realize that tefillah is an act of resistance, a most powerful weapon of warfare, we learn to wield it in the most effectual way, knowing that the battlefield is our soul. As the title of this article comes from the letter of James, 5th chapter, 16th verse, we are told that the effectual fervent tefillah of a righteous man avails much. What makes tefillah effectual and fervent? Tefillah hazakah. The sages of Israel explain that it is not simply the length or eloquence of the words, but the kavanah, or the intention of the heart, the alignment of soul with the ruach of Elohim. A tefillah that comes from a broken heart, a purified heart, or one burdened with compassion for others, rises like incense in the heavenly realms. As the Midrash Rabbah on Deuteronomy says, the gates of heaven may be closed, but the gates of tears, the gates of teshuvah, and the gates of righteousness are always open. It's also taught in the Jerusalem Talmud, Berachot 6b, quote, concerning another aspect of the constancy of tefillah. Rabbi Helbo said that Rav Huna said, one who sets a fixed place for his tefillah, the Elohim of Abraham assists him. Since tefillah parallels the temple service, it is a sign of respect to set a fixed place for this sacred rite. Rabbi Yoshiyahu Pinto, the El of Abraham, assists him because this pious custom evokes Abraham's conduct. End quote. Yaakov, or James, the brother of Yahushua, known for his constant intercession in the temple until his knees were calloused like a camel's, knew the ancient Hebrew secrets of tefillah. He taught that fervent tefillah, tefillah by emet, is both relational and righteous. It is not only about personal gain, but the repair of others, the healing of the community, tikkun olam, and a heart positioned in awe of Elohim. As one of the keys to access the inner chamber of spirit, the Hebrew word of tefillah is palal, meaning to judge oneself. Therefore, true tefillah is introspective. It is confession, realignment, and communion all in one. The Zohar likens tefillah to the ladder of Jacob in that it connects earth to heaven, with angels ascending and descending upon it. It is the lifeline of the Zaddik, the righteous one, and the weapon of the meek. In the depth of Israel's sacred inner tradition, tefillah is not merely vocalization, but vibration, sacred sound waves that reconfigure spiritual structures. The sages teach that the language Hebrew is not a man-made language, but the Lashon HaKodesh, the holy tongue. Hebrew is the medium through which Elohim himself spoke creation into being. And Elohim said, "Let there be light." Genesis 1:3. Thus, each Hebrew letter carries supernal force, numerical significance, gematria, and metaphysical weight. The Zohar states, quote, when a person prays with proper intention, the words ascend and pierce through firmaments until they stand before the Holy One, blessed be He. Zohar, Volume 2, 232a, end quote. Tefillah is like tuning into the original frequency of the universe. Tefillah, when put into use properly, is able to serve as a mystical ladder ascending through the four realms of creation: Asaya, action; Yetzirah, formation; Baraya, creation; Atzilut, emanation, until they reach the eternal emanator, Ein Sof, the infinite one. The Arizal, Rabbi Isaac Luria, taught that proper kavanah combined with the sacred names embedded in Hebrew tefillot causes tikkunim, or soul and world repairs and rectifications, to manifest both above and below. In Sha'ar HaKavanot, the gate of intentions, the text guides practitioners in aligning their inner consciousness with Elohim through intentionality, kavanah, aiming to bring spiritual rectification, tikkun, to the soul and the cosmos. The Ari goes on to explain, every word of tefillah, when uttered with true kavanah, releases divine sparks from exile, raises up fallen worlds, and unites the masculine and feminine aspects of divinity, Zeir Anpin and Nukhva. Note, respectively, those are the transcendent and immanent aspects of Elohim. The inner tradition also reveals that our tefillot are not solitary whispers, but sparks joining a symphony of souls who call out to the Holy One, blessed be He. Each Baruch Atah Adonai is not just a blessing. It's a key unlocking heavenly gates, stirring the Sephirot into motion, aligning us with divine will, and activating flow into the lower worlds. Even the positioning and order of Hebrew letters and words matter. The Tetragrammaton, or the four-vowed covenant-based proper name of the Creator, Yad-He-Wah-He, placed in liturgical tefillah, is not simply a name. It's a portal, a coded formula of mercy and transcendence. According to the Sefer Yetzirah, the Hebrew letters are the building blocks of creation. And each time we recite a tefillah like Shema Israel, we align our fragmented inner world with the singularity of the Creator. Yad-He-Wah-He Echad, Yad-He-Wah-He is one. This we addressed in the 6th article in this series, the frequency of oneness. And so, the secret is this. Hebrew tefillah is not magic, it's a mystery. Tefillah is a sacred technology passed down to co-create with the divine. Every utterance, when infused with kavanah, transforms the cosmos. When we hitpalal in the holy tongue, from the depth of heart and spirit, we are not just speaking, we are activating, we are invoking. Tefillah, in the absence of the temple sacrifices, becomes the spiritual substitute and elevation of the heart's intent. As the prophet Hosea declares, quote, take words with you and return to Yah. Say to him, forgive all iniquity and accept what is good. And we offer the bulls of our lips. Hosea 14:2, end quote. Here the phrase bulls of our lips, in Hebrew, parim stefatenu, is understood by the sages to mean that heartfelt words of tefillah, which can replace the physical sacrifices once offered on the altar. In this way, tefillah becomes a living korban, or offering, drawing us near to Elohim by refining our ego and transforming intention into elevation. The lips become the altar, sincerity becomes the fire. After the temple was destroyed, the sages replaced the offering times at the temple with regular tefillot times that were captured liturgically. Before that fateful event took place, however, Acts 2:42 lets us know that the Nazarene community continued steadfastly in the apostles' doctrine and fellowship, and in breaking of bread and in prayers. This verse reveals how the early disciples' deep devotion not only involved communal teaching and fellowship, but also a consistent rhythm of prayer, a practice deeply rooted in the liturgical traditions of Second Temple Yahudut. In this verse, written in Greek, the word tefillot, ta'is prosikeos, is plural, indicating not just spontaneous personal petitions, but established regular tefillah services aligned with the daily tefillot, shacharit, morning, mincha, afternoon, and ma'ariv, evening. The Mishnah, in Berachot 4:1, outlines the times and structure of these tefillot, and Talmudic sources affirm their connection to both the Avot, patriarchs, and the Tamid, daily offerings in the temple. Quote, Abraham instituted the morning tefillah, Isaac the afternoon, Jacob the evening. Berachot 26b. Thus the disciples' daily presence in the temple was not a spontaneous or informal gathering, but a continuation of liturgical tradition passed down through oral teachings. These tefillot, often found in the Siddur today, were recited with deep intention, kavanah, connecting worshipers to generations past and aligning them with the will of Yah. This context supports the understanding that the early followers of Messiah were not abandoning Hebrew tradition, but fulfilling it, immersed in communal, covenantal, and liturgical tefillah that bound heaven and earth, body and spirit, individual and community. The Siddur, which is the Hebrew tefillah book, reveals the order of Hebrew tefillah, which contains the mystery. When we truly grasp the meaning of tefillah, we find that it's not about control. It's about kavanah, or intention. Messiah Yahushua summarized the entire Amidah prayer when he taught his disciples how to pray, as he said, "Our Father in heaven, set apart be your name." Every line of that tefillah is built on Torah structure, which is arranged in the following pattern. 1. Recognition of who our Father is, Avinu. 2. Sanctification of the name, Kiddush Hashem. 3. Seeking the kingdom and the king's will, Malchut and Ratzon. 4. Asking for provision, Parnasah. 5. Confession and forgiveness, Teshuvah and Shlicha. 6. Requesting protection and deliverance, Haganah and Yeshua. When viewed from this perspective, we are able to convey the reality that tefillah is not just a repetition of words, it's a pathway leading to the gates of Shamayim. Additionally, Ecclesiastes 3 informs us that because there is a season and time for everything under the sun, we are told to hit palel without ceasing. 1 Thessalonians 5 verse 17. The reason Rav Shaul writes these words is because tefillah is like breathing for the soul. Just as the body cannot live without oxygen, the spirit cannot thrive without communion with its creator. Each tefillah is an inhale of Shekinah presence and an exhale of trust, surrender, or praise. We are called to hit palel without ceasing because constant tefillah keeps us spiritually alive, attuned, and connected. It is how we remain grounded in heaven's rhythm while walking through the pressures of earth. This instruction serves as an invitation for us to live in rhythm with the Most High. This is because from a Hebraic and Torah-based lens, tefillah is not an event. It is a state of being generating the spiritual pulse of a soul awakening to its source. The Rambam in Mishneh Torah Hilchot Tefillah 1:1 wrote, quote, "It is a positive commandment to hit palel every day, as it is said, you shall serve Yah your Elohim, Exodus 23:25. From tradition, we learn that this service refers to tefillah, end quote. Rambam clarifies that while fixed tefillot later developed under Ezra and the men of the Great Assembly, the essence of tefillah is avodah shebalev, the service of the heart. Therefore, to hit palel without ceasing is to keep the heart in a constant posture of return, teshuvah, trust, emunah, and attentiveness, kavanah. The sages liken the soul to a flame. Without the fuel of tefillah, it dims and flickers. And when we fan that flame by turning our hearts toward heaven in every circumstance, joy or pain, clarity or confusion, we become light bearers, vessels of heavenly communion. Tefillah without ceasing is less about religious obligation and more about sacred orientation, because every moment is pregnant with the opportunity to speak with the Creator. You can be standing in line at the store or driving in traffic. You can be lying awake at 3 a.m. and still be deep in kavanah. Silent tefillot are no lesser. They are hidden fires. Sometimes the most powerful tefillah is the one no one hears but Elohim. And when we begin our day with intentional tefillah, I recommend that you use the Siddur. Chant the Shema. Pour your heart out like Hannah. But don't stop there. Let your life become liturgical. Let your speech be salted with love, your work done with integrity, and your thoughts guided by Torah. That is unceasing tefillah. As it says in Psalm 16:8, I have set Yah before me always, because he is at my right hand, I shall not be moved, end quote. To hit palel without ceasing is to live like that, unmovable, because you set the Shekinah presence of Yah before you at all times, not as a duty, but as a delight. And I'll be the first to admit that though there may have been moments along my journey, especially during seasons of internal war, that I had no words of tefillah to offer. There were even moments when I had no desire to even offer the bulls of my lips, times when shame from my own broken choices kept me from believing I could even approach the throne. But even there, a single sigh, a groan, a whispered help was tefillah. A lifted eye in desperation became my incense offering before the Holy One. Psalm 51, 10 through 17 illuminates this point lucidly. Quote, "Create in me a clean heart, O Elohim, and renew a steadfast spirit within me. Do not cast me away from your presence, and do not take your Ruach HaKodesh from me. Restore to me the joy of your Yeshua, and uphold me, noble spirit. Let me teach transgressors your ways, so that sinners turn back to you. Deliver me from blood guilt, O Elohim, Elohim of my Yeshua. Let my tongue sing aloud of your righteousness. O Yah, open my lips that my mouth declare your praise. For you do not desire slaughtering, or I would give it. You do not delight in burnt offering. The slaughterings of Elohim are a broken spirit, a heart broken and crushed, O Elohim. These you do not despise," end quote. I'm learning that to pray continually is to walk with a soft heart and a steady awareness that Elohim is near, even when we don't sense the Spirit close. It's to let our daily choices reflect a yearning to stay close. When I think of my grandmother's hands folded in reverence at dawn and dusk, I understand now that what she gave me wasn't just a discipline. It was a sacred lifestyle. She offered tefillah while cooking, while walking, while weeping. She taught me that tefillah wasn't what you do before living, but it's how you live. And this is why it is my effectual and fervent tefillah for you, my family, that you don't stop offering tefillot. Don't let distraction, guilt, or dryness keep you from the throne. Hit Palel when you feel it. Hit Palel when you don't. Hit Palel with tears. Hit Palel with laughter. Hit Palel in silence. Hit Palel in Hebrew. Hit Palel from your gut. Hit Palel from your heart. Set your alarm. Make your space. Open the Siddur. Say the Shema. Say the Amidah. Say our Father. Say Amen. As our master Yahushua ben Yosef said, men ought always to hit Palel and not faint. Luke 18:1. So my brethren, my sister, stay lit, stay low, stay listening, stay learning, stay praying. This is the way. For tefillah is our fuel for transfiguration. So keep your tank full so that you can continue on your journey to become the light of Elohim. Transfiguration requires transformation, and transformation requires tefillah, effective, fervent tefillah. Selah.